So from your seat, I think everyone has come there. From your seat, you're just going to take a moment to check in with your breath. So this part of our class, we tend to slow down a little bit. We tend to be a little bit more mindful. So I want to spend a couple of minutes with just the breath. And it doesn't mean that you have to be totally sitting upright, paying full attention. You can feel really soft as you're in the seat. You can let the belly relax. You can even round a little with shoulders or even drop the chin. Soften in as many places as you can and still staying upright. And it might take a moment or two for you to fully notice how your breath is doing, how your breath is feeling inside of your chest. There's always the option of bringing a palm to any part of your torso to notice your breath a bit more. And as you're tuning in more specifically to how the inhales are filling up, see if you can take those inhales and kind of push them out in all directions. So 360, you're imagining that the air is taking its time to fill up, not only through the front body, but also through the side body. And even through the back body. So all your ribs and your spine. It's a outward movement versus my chest lifts and rise or my belly protrudes. It's all in the rib cage in all direction. And as your breath starts to slow down a little bit more, whether that slowing down is coming naturally or you start to will it a little bit, lengthen your inhales, lengthen your exhales. Just another moment or two of breathing on your own. If you happen to close your eyes, then you can blink them open. And your palms can either come to your sides or a little behind you so that you can unravel your legs, and they're going to both reach forward in front of you. And you're going to take your heels, your left and your right heels, and you're going to dig them a little down into the floor as if they're trying to grip a little bit. And your toes will be pointed up towards the ceiling. You might even feel them pulling a little bit back towards your shin or towards your face. But as you get that push down into the ground, you're going to take a gentle forward fold. So the forward fold is hinging from the hips, your belly's towards the thighs. So instead of rounding in the upper shoulders or back, it could just be a very subtle shift forward before your hamstrings are like, hi. And that's fine because we're trying to work on that one part of our body right now. We're not trying to bend a lot into the upper chest. We're trying to say hello to our hamstrings for a moment. So the gripping through your heels down into the floor, maybe you even feel like you're trying to drag a little bit. Might also light up the tops of your legs, your thighs, or your calves. And just your belly works towards your thighs. And on your way up, you can even use your palms to kind of support you as you come upright once more out of your forward fold. Nice. And then you'll take your left foot, you'll bring it into your inner thigh. And your right leg can either be straight in front of you, or if it wants to be a little out to the side, that's fine too. And then we'll just take that one leg at a time. So same, you're gonna dig that heel in a little. It might feel like it's trying to pull you towards your screen or the front of your mat. And then same, nice tall, long back. We're gonna forward fold. And our goal really is to try to get our belly towards our spine. So none of this rounding and dropping the head down. It's supposed to challenge the back of the leg. So I'm not trying to pretzel our way into this, right? And then on your way up, you'll press gently into your palms. It can help support you to come upright. And then we get to switch. So one leg comes out, take a moment, the other one comes in. And it's either straightforward or out to the side a little bit. Hips are funny. Sometimes they go straight forward. Mine don't. Mine likes to kind of kick my leg up to the side a little. So once you get there, you're going to take that same upright position. And you're going to shift belly towards thigh. Use your hands for support. Dig the heel in a little bit. If your hamstrings feel like they're resisting a little, you just wait. They'll soften. They'll let go. They'll notice this is an okay range for me. I also have support from my hands. I'm doing all right. And then you'll push your way up through your palms. You'll come upright. You can even let both legs go long for a moment. You might give them a little jiggle or let the toes swing a little side to side. And then because we went long with the hamstrings, we're trying to give them a really good long stretch. We're gonna shorten them now. So you're gonna bring your right knee in towards your chest, and then you can grip behind your knee or thigh. And kind of how I was saying earlier, how we wanted to squeeze a ball behind our knee, you can use your hand as that ball and bring it behind your knee, and that's what you're gonna squeeze onto. You can use your free hand as a little kickstand behind you or at your side. And then you're just gonna lift the foot a little off the ground and then bring your heel as close to your bum as you can. So you're gonna squeeze the back side of your leg in. So if you have your hand back there, you'll notice that it's squeezing your hand like it was a ball. And then you can really soften for a moment. And then we'll take that 2 more rounds where you're shortening that back of your leg, the hamstring. You're giving like a little squeeze to your imaginary ball or your palm. I've got my palm behind my knee. And then you can soften, release. You also get some flexion in your hips. So if you're feeling it there too, that's a good place to feel it as well. And then one more round where you bring your heel, squeeze it in towards your body, towards your bum. You're squeezing the back of your knee together, maybe your hands back there. And then you get to release, let that leg go long, let it go for a moment. And then we'll switch to the other side. So left knee comes towards chest. Your right hand can be your little kickstand behind you at your side. And then your left palm can go behind that left knee, and it gets to be the thing that you're squishing for a moment. So you'll lift your foot a little off the ground, and then you'll squeeze your heel towards your bum. Knee towards your chest. And then you can soften, let go for a moment. We'll take a second round of that, or we give a little squeeze. You might notice from one side to the other, one's more cooperative, one's less cooperative. My hip flexors want to work more on this side than my hamstrings. That's what I notice. Hip flexors are trying to do all the work on my left side. Soften for a moment. And then I just have one more round. So we'll give a little squeeze in. Nice work. You can let that leg go long. You can give that same little shake, shake, or those little toe turns side to side. And then we're going to come to a butterfly pose. So feet are going to meet up and the knees are going to fall wherever they fall. So a really great way to support this is if you have pillows or blocks or anything like that, if you need the extra support. Otherwise, you can just let the knees flop open to the side. And once you get the knees to the side, try to mirror your whole foot. So feel your big toes press into each other, feel all your other toes press into each other, the inside and the outside of your heels. And so once you get that marrying and you get just a little bit of a pressing in towards the feet, then you're going to try to send your knees down towards the floor. And at first, you're going to do this with just the will of your muscles. So even as your feet are pressed together, we're not trying to let them open up like a book. We're trying to keep them nice and tight. Try to work using all your external glute and hips to try to drag your knees towards the ground. This is the active version, right? You're like, it's so much work. I feel core, I feel things. And then you can soften for a moment. Oh. And then we'll do one more round of that, the active version. So your whole foot, feet, both of them presses in towards each other. And however you imagine what muscle is going to help you do this, try to draw your knees down towards the floor. If you're not sure where to feel it, outside of hips, bottom glutes, inner thighs, maybe even the lower core or belly. Oh, and then soften for a moment to let go of that. All right, same little bit of action, but we're gonna let our palms help us out this time. So you can do this one of two ways. You can just take your palms straight to your knees and push them down towards the floor. You can also bring your hands to your ankles or like your lower shins and then use your elbows to push them down. That takes a little forward fold into it. So those are two good versions. Either way, now we're applying more of a passive stretch. So we're pushing with the force of either elbow or palms. And you might, even as you're pushing down, feel some muscles trying to resist that stretch. They will soften. They will take the stretch. Might not be the session, but at some point they'll say, yeah, it's okay. I can lengthen and let this happen. We'll just hang out a little bit longer in this lovely little stretch here before finding our way upright. So if you're in a little bit of a forward fold, you're going to come up. If you're just pressing your hands into your knees, then you're upright. Then just soften there. And then you're going to take your hands to the outsides of your knees and you get to close them up like a little book. Nice. You're going to come onto your tabletop position. So knees down, palms to the mat. And once you get into your tabletop, you have the choice of rocking and rolling around any way you would please. So we just did a little hamstring work. We did some inner thigh work. So if circling the hips around feels nice, if shifting forward and back is soothing, perhaps you're zippering up and down your spine, finding a way to articulate in as many points and as many directions for your torso. Nice. And coming back to that breath, checking in, noticing if it's still slowing down. If it feels a little elevated, can you exhale and continue to bring length to your out breath? We're going to get a juicy little side stretch in. So we're going to come into a side plank. So to come to your side plank, you're going to take your right foot and you're going to kickstand it to the long edge of your mat and then roll onto your right side so that you can turn your chest open and then your long leg is supported on the floor. Yeah. So you're rolling onto your right side. So one more time, that's kickstand the right foot to the long edge of the mat. Rotate your left hip over your right hip and then open your chest up. Yeah. So if you want the good juicy side stretch, maybe take your pinky, face it down towards the floor as you reach overhead. Like you're trying to point towards your camera maybe. So your upper arm bone is near your ear or the side of your face. And you can actually give a little forward bending to the spine, arching through the backside. Or you could take a little back bend where you open your chest more and the heart reaches forward. These are just options. If you're not loving these options, you can come palm back to your hip or any other way. As long as you're feeling into your bones and tissue on your own and not necessarily just doing all the things that I suggest. Yes, which is what I'm seeing right now. Good, beautiful. Take a moment to breathe into this. You can always come from a flat palm to a fist instead. That might feel better for the wrists. That's one of my go-tos when my wrists are just saying, not today. And then however you want to unwind to bring yourself back forward. You'll let the hips rotate around. You'll come back to your table-like position, and then you get to switch. So now this time the right leg goes long. The left foot is the one that kickstands to the outer edge of your mat, and you roll so that your right hip stacks on top of your left. And depending on which way you're facing, you might still see the camera. You might not. It doesn't matter if the screen is in front of your face because you know what to do. You might reach straight overhead, get a nice side body stretch in there. You might bring your hand to your hip. You could take a little forward bend action with the upper torso, the upper shoulders and spine. Or you might bring the heart forward and have yourself a little baby back bend. Or you could be up to all these beautiful things I'm seeing right now. Either palm down on the mat or that fist on the mat. Nice. Just another moment or two. And you'll work your way back around towards your tabletop. And we're going to take one or two versions of an outer hip stretch. So the one that's pretty common is that you bring your right knee and leg in front of you, and then you shift the hips to come down towards the mat. If this feels like too much of an outer hip stretch for you, so your front leg's kind of bent in front of you, another great option is to come to your backside, and then your foot comes in like a figure four, and your ankle rests on your knee and you bring your knee in. So figure four on your back will give you that same outer hip stretch. Or you could be down in the pigeon pose, facing down towards the floor. Some days it's back stretch, figure four, and other days it's I want to lay in this pigeon pose for the next hour of my life. They're both pretty much doing the same action, allowing you to get a little outer hip stretch here. You can either be working into a more active stretch here. You're pulling with the arms, or you're lying at rest into the hip. Or you can be in a very gentle figure four where you just feel a little bit of a outer hip stretch. So for those of you that are on your backside and your legs are lifted, you'll plant the feet back down onto the mat. You'll uncross the legs, you'll switch your figure four so that the other ankle comes to the opposite knee. And if you chose to take the other version where your leg is pinned underneath you, press up gently, work your way back to a table, and then switch, bringing your opposite leg down underneath you, and deciding how you want to take your pigeon pose from there. Even though we're stretching and working a little, what are the other areas that you can soften into? Can you feel a little bit softer in the face and in the jaw, or across the chest and shoulders? And then you're ready to release from this second side, the second hip stretch. You'll either uncross the legs and set them down, or if you've got your leg tucked underneath you, you'll gently press up. And we're going to come onto the belly for a moment. So if you're on your backside, you can just flip over. If you're already on your belly, then you're already on your belly, right? So this one I call the shoelace because it's sort of like your when your shoelaces are in your shoe, they're crossed over. So you're gonna cross your right arm over your left underneath you. So it might take you kind of propping up a little bit and then wiggling your arms underneath you. And then it's almost like you want to reach your palms to give yourself your own hug, that kind of crossing in front of you. Yeah. And then if you lay down into that, you should feel a stretch between the shoulders on the backside. If it feels like a bit much to do both at the same time, you can unlace one and just allow maybe the right arm to be underneath you or the left, and to allow your chest weight to push in and give you a stretch. Yep, good. I see both versions. Excellent. This is sort of like that eagle arm twist that we do sometimes, but it's a little bit more of a less active version. And then if you happen to be doing one arm, you're going to lift slowly off that one arm, and then you'll throw the other arm across and lay back down onto it. If you chose to have both of your arms crossed, this time when you cross, you'll take the left arm over and then lay back down onto your shoelaces. Takes a little bit of fidgeting sometimes where you can shift a little forward and back and get those laces underneath you before you feel like you can settle in. When you're ready to gently unwind, you'll use your arms or palms, whatever's necessary to come up off your laces and either unlace both or the one that's across. And you're going to bring your arms to a T. So your right cheek is going to turn down towards the mat. And we're going to take a twist off to our right side. So as your arms are in a T and your body is down, as you roll into your right side, you could either keep your legs stacked or you might bring that left foot to the mat with a bent knee behind your left knee. Or we're trying to get a little front chest stretch in here. So right arm is out, right cheek is down on the mat. So you turn your head towards the left, and then you're rolling towards your right side. So you're opening up towards the left. Yeah. And you might be able to take that left hip and rotate it over so it's a little bit more stacked onto your right hip. That gives you a little bit more stretch in the lower part of your body, into your spine. And you decide how much stretch you get into that front chest. If you're not enjoying exactly where that stretch is going, you might unwind a little and either bring your hand higher, more towards your head, or down towards your thigh, and then go back into your open twist. You'll work your way back to your belly, nice and gently. And then you'll take your second side when you're ready. So now your left arm's the one that reaches out. Your left cheek is going to come to the floor. So you're looking towards your right. And then you're going to twist off towards that left arm. You're opening up the right shoulders coming up towards the sky. And then you decide what you do with your hips. Do you want to let your hips stack, your left over your right? Do you want to let that top leg kickstand somehow? Now it probably feels a little bit more like a kickstand. So we are aiming for a little bit of a front chest stretch here. And feel it down through that bottom left arm. You may or may not be getting that little extra twisty in the spine. You'll slowly work your way out of this twist. And settle into your belly for a moment. You can use your arms or palms in any way to bring more comfort to your head and neck and shoulders, either forehead down or a cheek down, but we're just on our belly here for a restful moment. Tuning back in with the breath, letting it slow down even further. And we're coming into our final moments, so we're going to end on our back sides. You don't have to flip your whole body around. You can just flip onto your back. And I offer you the same choices. They're just options. In case nothing comes to mind how you want to spend your last few minutes wiggling around. You might bring knees into chest, give them a hug and squeeze, a rock and roll. If you need some twisting action, you might let the knees fall left and right like windshield wipers. Happy baby is always an excellent way to end your practice. Feet go up towards the sky. You can grab onto the backs of your thighs or your calves, ankles, your toes, whatever's accessible. I see some toes flipping up in the air. Or any other movement that you can imagine. Stillness is always an option. And these are your final moments to take any movement from your imagination and apply it. As we come to our final moment here in our practice, I invite you to spend as much time as you can in a resting state. 5 minutes is an excellent start, even if it feels challenging. 7 or 10 is even better if you've got it. Thank you all for sharing your practice with me this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening.